Well, hello, Nathan.
Hello. Hello.
So, it's been. Is today? Today's December 18th.
Yes.
It's been almost 2 months exactly.
2 months to the day since we saw it.
2 months to the day since we saw Halloween H40. Halloween 2018. Starring
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis and Jude Courtney.
Wow, what a perfect day to do this.
Yes. How fortuitous.
Right.
Yes. So, overall, what did you think of the writing of the film, specifically in terms of dialogue and how the plot flowed?
So this is something I've actually wanted to talk about for a while.
Sure.
The flow of the script felt very much like the original, and the fact that it never dragged. Scenes ended when they needed to. The right kind of information was given to us. I watched the deleted scenes when they were uploaded onto YouTube. When Dimension, not Dimension, Miramax and Universal kind of gave sneak previews of the deleted scenes that would be on the DVD when it's released July 19th. And while the deleted scenes were good, the film that we were given without them is far more superior. Because a lot of them are just scenes that did give a little bit more character building, but would in the overall story arc provided not much. So, and then there's the fact that there was the alternate ending. Because for those who don't know, the ending we got in the 2018 film, not sharing any spoilers, is not the original ending. The original ending that was supposed to happen was that Michael and Laurie were supposed to get into a knife fight out front of the cabin that she lives in, and she was supposed to strike him in the arm in the same place that he got her 40 years ago. And then her daughter, Karen, was supposed to shoot Michael in the shoulder with a crossbow. And he was supposed to just wander off in the woods, sit down by a tree, and begin breathing much slower and shallower than usual. Kind of implying that those are his last breaths. And then it was supposed to pick up that the three still escaped the same way they did in the final product. But test audiences hated it. They thought it was very anticlimactic. And so the ending we were given, which I feel is the better ending, was shot in like 3 days.
Yeah.
So, overall, I think writing was good. Dialogue felt natural. It never felt robotic at times. And something I really loved, especially when it came to the dialogue, is especially with the teenage characters, you really got a feel for who they are before all this happened. You got a sense that these were real teenagers. It never felt like a studio trying to pretend, oh, this is what teenagers sound like. No, it was genuine dialogue. And you felt for these characters, and so when some of them died, you were like, "Oh no, Except for the podcasters, I hated those two. I was so happy when they died. I was like, "Oh God, yes." But overall, I'd have to say the writing was very strong. The flow was just to my liking, and the little homages they gave here and there, such as the Elrod reference, the reference when Allison is in school and she looks out the window and she sees Laurie standing there, as how 40 years before Laurie looked out and it was Michael. So I like how they switched places.
Well, don't forget where Laurie forces Michael off the balcony.
Yes.
And then turns away, turns back, and he's gone.
And then 40 years later, he forces her off the balcony and then she disappears.
Right.
And he gives his famous head tilt.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's very confused. He's like, oh, so that's what it kind of refers back to that Batman reference. So that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Exactly. The student has become the master.
Right.
Or the victim has become the prey has become the predator in that sense.
But overall, I thought it was very strong.
How do you feel that how do you feel about the tension building in the film? Do you think it built tension in the right moments?
Yes. I heard a lot of people complain that Michael didn't stalk his victims enough. And I heard this really great theory that so the original film, Michael was reliving the night of Halloween 1963, where he stalked his sister Judith and then killed her. And then when he turned 21 in 78, he relived that night and stalked teenagers who were close to Judith's age and kind of reminded him of her. And that's why he did what he did. And then Laurie gets away. There's the whole confrontation with Laurie. So then in age 40, he's reliving the night that she got away. So that's why he's not stalking. That's why he is just a mechanical killing machine. He is just trying to get to the one person that he could not. And I thought that is a perfect explanation as to why Michael is out of character, even though I felt that he wasn't.
Well, and you make an interesting point there, because let me ask you this. Do you think Michael is going back to Haddonfield with the intent to find Laurie, or do you think he's going back to Haddonfield to just create more carnage and without discrimination, without any sort of agenda or any sort of goal other than bloodshed?
So having watched the film beforehand, I would have probably told you it was the latter answer.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, she went to try and kill Michael when he was being transferred.
Yeah.
She went to the prison with the intent of killing him. So something tells me that as she was sitting in her truck and the bus passed by, I think Michael caught a glimpse of her. And I think he realized she's still here.
Yeah.
And that's why he escaped. That's why he overpowered everyone in the bus and went on his carnage. Is that he knew she's still out there. I've heard other people say that it was the doctor who did it. Spoilers. The doctor is trying to understand Michael's psychopathy. But I don't believe that's what happened. I think it was all Michael.
You think it was all Michael? Yeah.
It had to have been. I think the doctor only became interested in the psychopathy when he saw what Michael could do by himself.
Yeah.
Because this is a man who was shot 6 times, fell off a balcony, was stabbed in the eye and the chest, and walked away.
Yeah.
Oh, and the neck. Stabbed in the neck with a needle.
He's a machine.
He is. He's pure evil in human form. That's what he is. It has nothing to do with him being a machine. It's the fact that he is evil incarnate.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. He's evil that decided to take human form, that being Michael Myers. Mm-hmm. So overall, I think Michael is just trying to get to Laurie, and he causes the carnage to just be sure that it's still there in him. Because evil needs to feed. That's how it always works. That's how it always been. It's how it always will be. Evil needs to feed. And the best way it can feed itself is by causing carnage.
Now you mentioned deleted scenes before.
Yes.
Is there a specific scene from the film, or any number of specific scenes from the film that if you were directing it, you would have, or if you were in charge of the final cut, you would have deleted? Is there anything that you felt was excessive or was unnecessary?
No. I felt it gave us the right flow. If anything, the only thing I would have added, not subtracted, there's a shot in the trailer where Laurie is getting prepared, like she's had her whole day of training. And it shows up in the final film. She has this whole day of training, and then she's cleaning her rifles, and she's being prepared. In the trailer, there was this shot of her arm and the scar that had formed from the 78 murders. That was not shown, and to me, that's such an important scar, because it's always brought up when it comes to Halloween. Even in H2O, there's the sequence where Michael gets a quick jump on Laurie. And when she stabs him in the shoulder with the axe, he gets her in the same place on her arm. And she's even surprised that he still got her there again. So I'm kind of sad that that was never brought up.
I completely agree. I was waiting for that, and I wanted to see that scar so badly.
To me, it's just that is her battle scar. What's up here is just as important as what's right here.
Right.
That is her proof that she escaped pure evil.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, considering the likelihood that the brilliant minds of David Gordon Green and Danny McBride will make a sequel, what are you hoping to see in Halloween 2? Again.
Honestly, just Michael.
Yeah.
I just... What I was given in H40 was what I've wanted since the travesty that was Resurrection destroyed the brilliance that was H2O. Now, and that's interesting because H2O is kind of a divisive film. A lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it. But that's with any of the Halloween films. There are people who think Halloween 6 is the best one, for God's sakes.
Oh, God.
I know. There are actual fans of Halloween 6 out there. Not to crap on anyone's opinions. It's fine to be wrong, but, you know. I kid.
No, he doesn't.
But to me, Halloween 40 gave what I wanted, which was just John Carpenter's Shape. I just want to see the Shape being the monster that Loomis described to us 40 years ago. Because there is something so interesting about his character in the fact that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you fight, struggle, survive, he keeps finding a way to come back. Whether we look at the original timeline or not, he finds a way to come back every time. He shakes off so much. But it is because he is the embodiment of pure evil. He is that darkness that we fear at night. Those rustle in the winds, the creak in the hallway when you want to ensure that your bedroom door is locked. Those eyes that you are more than certain are watching you in the darkness. He represents all of that. He's the boogeyman. You can't kill the boogeyman. And that's all I want to see. And that's what I got in H40, and that's what I'm hoping to get in the sequel.
Well, and Laurie Strode is the complete antithesis of Michael Myers.
Exactly. She's all that's good. And I think, and I wanted to talk about this, I think that her character is being shifted onto Allison. Like her role as the antithesis of everything against Michael is being shifted onto Allison because Allison's the new generation.
Right. So they might continue with the idea of family.
Yes.
But instead of making
Michael connected with Laurie.
Right.
It's that Laurie kind of shifts her pain and suffering onto Allison by complete accident.
Well, and it's almost... I mean, Michael seems to have this incredible memory.
Yes, he does.
And he seems to retain, these things that, most people really wouldn't. Most people would kind of dismiss. Mm-hmm. As far as, appearance, he almost has a photographic memory.
Yeah.
So if he ever sees Allison again...
Oh, yeah, he's going to remember
He's going to go after her.
Yeah, because he remembered Laurie 40 years later.
That's right.
She's aged. I mean, kudos to Jamie Lee Curtis. She still looks the same now as she did 40 years ago, which...
she looks pretty darn good.
Greek yogurt must be that good.
Yeah. Activia.
You're right. Activia yogurt. Keeps you young forever.
We're not sponsored by Activia.
But I'm more than certain that Allison is going to become the new Laurie Strode. And if so, I'm totally down with that.
Do you think Michael now is scared of Laurie Strode?
No. Michael has no fear. What I see is Michael understands that he has an equal now. And he needs to shift his focus onto somebody who is not.
He's found the Holmes to his Moriarty.
Yes.
Oh, very good.
Because there's that sequence at the end where they're making straight eye contact with each other, where he's in the basement.
Yep.
And he's just staring. He's not staring at any of the other two. He's staring directly at Laurie. You can tell his eyesight is on her.
Yes.
And when I saw that the first time, the only thing that kept running through my head was that he probably had the thought of, you've become like me, and I cannot destroy you anymore.
So do you think he's done with her?
Yes. That's why I think the ending of the film showed the knife in Allison's hand is that she's the one to now defend herself against Michael.
Right.
She is now the new Laurie Strode. And again, I'm totally fine with that because I liked Allison as a character.
Incredible.
We didn't get to see much of her because she was running around in the woods away from Michael.
I know.
What I did see of her character very much seemed like how Laurie was in 78. So.
Final question. How do you think Mr. James Jude Courtney fares as the new shape, as the new Michael Myers? Nick Castle has officially passed the torch.
Yes, and they had the best scene to pass the torch in my personal opinion.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, spoiler warning. I'm just going to put that at the front of both of our reviews. Just a giant spoiler warning before the video starts.
Yeah.
But the first time that Michael and Laurie meet, Laurie sees Michael through the reflection of a mirror. And what's so great about that sequence is that it's Nick Castle behind the mask. In that one sequence. That is the only sequence that Nick has throughout the entire film. But I'm so happy that it's him behind the mask because it's so right. It was so right.
The first time she sees him after 40 years.
It's
gotta be
Nick.
him.
It's Nick behind the mask.
What
I love so much is that I saw some behind the scenes footage of it. And him and Jude were both on the set. And James Jude Courtney, the way he wore the mask, it had a semi-Halloween 2 look to it. Like how Dick Warlock wore the mask, and it was, his head was too big for it.
Yeah.
But when Nick wore the Halloween 40 mask, because of how fucking tall his chin is, like how low it goes, it made the mask stretch like the original H1, so it had the H1 look to it, which made me so happy. And I love the fact that when Laurie sees him, there's the reaction shot, and then it cuts straight to Michael in the mirror, and he's just tilting his head again. It's that sign of recognition of, oh, it's you.
Yeah. And
I loved that. And in terms of James Jude Courtney, I thought the entire time that it was Nick behind the mask. And then you had told me that it was James, and then when I researched it, yeah, that was the only scene that Nick had. And I was impressed the whole time because he had all of Nick's mannerisms down to a T.
He did.
He also put in a bit of Dick Warlock's mannerisms and the fact of the mechanical nature. Because Dick Warlock, when you compare the original two movies, Nick has a very fluid motion to him. He's very much a fluid shape. He just moves through the shadows, as to where Dick Warlock was mechanical. He moved slowly. He was almost like a Frankenstein figure in how unstoppable he was and how mechanical his movements were, which is great for either performance because both are just legendary in their own right. And James took that, threw them together, but at the same time added his own bits to it that I absolutely adore, such as there are a lot of scenes where Michael, you can tell, is examining someone because James Courtney will do the minor head tilt, but at the same time he'll also move his head at the same time to kind of track the prey. And it's the most interesting thing I've ever seen a Myers do.
It's eerie.
Because all the other Michael Myers just stand there and stare. He is never afraid to just move. He has that fluidity of Castle, but the mechanical nature of Warlock. And just the sequences of how he moved his body, how he carried himself, how big he looked. Because I think he's only an inch or so taller than Nick Castle. Nick is like 5'11", and Jude Courtney I think is 6'2", which every Michael since Nick Castle has always been a tall guy. And I think it's because they need to be an opposing force. But even when he got his 2 fingers blown off, he still had that intimidating presence. Because he just shook it off. He's got half of his hand blown away. And he just, okay, great. I got shot 6 times once. I don't have a functioning left eye. I don't care. Let's go. That's something else I really enjoyed. A lot of people get uppity about seeing Michael's face. We saw it in the first film. You know, he gets unmasked. It's Tony Moraine. And then he puts the mask back on. And in this one, we get minor shots of James Jude Courtney without the mask. And a lot of people got upset about that. And I just thought...
And you never see his full face.
No, you don't. And the thing with me is, we've seen his face once. We know what he looks like. Who cares?
Well, and for that matter, one thing that I want to point out is, do you notice that when he puts the mask on, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think every shot after that, you don't see his eyes.
No, you never see his eyes.
You don't see within the mask.
Mm-mm. There's only one shot where I know where you can see his eyes, and it's after he puts it back on in the cop car, and the lights are flashing.
Mm-hmm.
As he turns his head and sees Allison, for a second you can see the eyes.
Yeah.
That's the only time.
That's about it.
They never showed his eyes. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they got the mask to do that, whether it was just like a really great framing, lighting, maybe the mask sat away from the face. I don't know how they did it.
Well, you never saw his eyes in the first one.
Exactly. Well, that's because the mask was too wide on Nick Castle's head. Too wide here, but too short here.
Yes, but look what it did.
I know, it created such a great look. It was so creepy.
That's right.
But either way, I don't know how they did it, but I loved it. Because it went back to the soulless black eyes of Myers. What made him so friggin' scary? And out of all the Myers, my absolute favorites go Nick Castle, James Jude Courtney, Dick Warlock.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone else brought their own style to it. Everyone has their own version of Myers, but when it comes... If I was to be stalked by Michael Myers, I want one of those 3 chasing me.
That's right.
Because they actually scare the ever-loving crap out of me. Mm-hmm. Especially James Jude Courtney. He was
James Jude Courtney
monstrous.
Is a scary mother effer, that guy.
He just really blew me away, and I loved every second he was on screen.
Donald Pleasance, we miss you. Sam Loomis, forever in our hearts.
John Carpenter was in an interview recently, and somebody asked him if he knew what Donald Pleasance's reaction would have been to this. And he said he would have loved it. And I am of that opinion too. Had the late, great Donald Pleasance lived to see age 40, one, he probably would have been in it.
Yes.
Because he was in every other Halloween, because he loved that film series.
He loved that role.
He was dedicated. He hated Halloween 6, though. I don't blame him. He also hated Halloween 5.
Yeah.
I'll tell you some fun stories about that. But he would have loved it. I think he would have really loved what they did. So.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And, yeah.
Yeah. Merry Hollow Thanks, Miss.
Merry Hollow Thanks, Miss.